Good morning. I haven't had any parents arrive for the presentation, but because several of you asked that I share the presentation, I'm going to go ahead and give it to the iPad, and then I'll share it out to the parents. I just have a few things to go over with you in regards to the 5th grade field trip, and so I'll begin. Heifer Global Village at Shepherd Spring is a true treasure in our community, and when I found out about it, I couldn't wait to provide this opportunity for my students. So I'll tell you a little bit about Shepherd Spring and the Heifer Global Village. Shepherd Spring is an American Camping Association accredited facility. All of the buildings meet or exceed building code requirements. All the staff that are there and that work with us go through training and background checks, and it's considered a child care provider by the state. One of the things that we talk a lot about in 6th grade Global Perspectives class are the major issues of developing countries, and hunger is definitely one of those. And a staggering statistic to wrap our brains and hearts around the fact that some 795 million people in the world do not have enough food to lead a healthy life. And so one of the things we talk about is that what must it feel like to wake up hungry and not to know if you're going to be nourished, or to go to sleep hungry. So we talk a lot about what that feels like. And the children just get a small glimpse of that at the Global Village when suddenly they want food but don't have enough money in the market to buy what they want for their entire family. And they begin to really relate to what that must be like to not just have a guarantee of breakfast, lunch, dinner, snacks, drinks, etc. Heifer International is an incredible organization, and the students will learn a little bit about this organization and the fact that they were founded in 1944 with the mission of eradicating hunger in developing countries. And they do this by empowering the people in those countries to give them what they need in order to begin to progress in their life so that they can meet their needs themselves, rather than always hope that the kindness of an organization will be there for them. So they truly empower people to rise up out of poverty. The hope that we have in the Global Village experience and in the Global Perspectives class in 6th grade was that in our students we'll build awareness of some of the problems that people grapple with beyond their small window here in Falls Church. An understanding of some of those issues, and understanding that there are multiple stories that we need to understand and hear in order to get a well-rounded explanation of what people go through in the world. We certainly want to build an appreciation in them of what they have. I often tell the students that you were born into this life, and students and children who are born into poverty deserve the same things and food, shelter, and clothing that they have automatically. And so just appreciating their pillow, appreciating their pantry at home is full of food. I want to help them to really see that with new eyes. Definitely building an element of empathy, walking in the shoes at the Global Village of people who are impoverished is a way to help them build empathy. Rather than just learning about it academically, they really walk the walk. And also encouraging action. You know, what actions could you take in your community now that you know about what hunger is like, and to some degree? And what actions could you take as an individual, as a family, in order to bring this knowledge that you've gained into something that could be helpful to others? At the Global Village, we will be able to see homes from all over the world that are considered impoverished communities. And so we will take a tour of the communities. We will be assigned to family groups, and then the children will go to the different home that they've been assigned to cook their meal. And so this is the Guatemala home, this is the Mozambique home, this is the Kenya home, the Thailand home, and even a home from Appalachia. And so depending on where they're assigned, even within these homes, there are different levels of poverty. So what they'll be receiving is an amount of money at the market that is related to the situation that they're in their country and in their family group. The SEEDS program, I shared the schedule with you already, but it's very similar, but a mini version of the Overnight Global Gateway experience. And it's a market-based program where, as I said, the students will suddenly begin to understand what it's like to want to purchase but not having the purchase power because of a lack of funds. They will have a map activity which will help them to appreciate population and poverty and distribution of goods and services and resources and what a difference that makes for the different continents. They will tour the village to get a good idea and learn a little bit about each of the countries from which the homes are derived. And they will learn about the rules and goals of the market. They will learn about the meal activity and which family group they're in. And then they'll get their market list, they'll make a budget, which is a financial literacy skill, very important even in a developed country. They will buy the food that they can afford to buy, they will go to their village, they will cook their food, they will have to, perhaps in some cases, well in all cases, they'll have to start a fire in order to cook their food. Some will be cooking outdoors, some will be cooking indoors, depending. And after their meal and they clean up, then we'll head back into the main facility to reflect and really debrief about the experience. And then we'll head home. This was a paragraph that a student who went through the Global Gateway experience wrote, and please indulge me as I read this to you. She said, "In my opinion, having a global perspective is a vital way to look at life. There are two options: looking through the magnifying glass of life, which you make from your own limited perspective, or looking through the kaleidoscope of life, which you make by learning and experiencing what other people around the world have to deal with every day to survive. I recommend choosing the second option. The first time I really truly understand what people have to go through was the trip to the Helfer Global Village. Last year in 5th grade, we went to the Global Village, and for me, it was probably the most eye-opening and life-changing experience. I didn't just learn about poverty and how people survive, I lived it. In that one day, I traded food for water, tried to make a fire, failed at making a fire, tried to make a meal out of what I had, and I still would do the whole experience again. It changed my whole view on the world by helping me see the people who have to do what people have to do on a daily basis to survive. Then in 6th grade, we went deeper and deeper into the topic, and I learned so much about the information, about countries, people, cultures, and so much more. That one adventure led to a whole new way of seeing the world, of seeing life. And that was written by Johanna. And so this field trip is very much more than a field trip. And I hope that it will make an impact, like it did on Johanna, on our 5th graders this year. Just some nuts and bolts. Again, this information was provided to you. If medicine is to be transported and is not already at the school with the nurse, that needs to be brought in. And then I have the waivers for everyone, so we're good to go. The students should bring a nice sized water bottle filled with water. Their shoes should be closed-toed. They can bring outerwear in case they're cool, and then of course they can wrap it around if they need to. Bug spray, sunscreen, chapstick, sunglasses are certainly an option. and I don't think hat and gloves are necessary this time of year. So one of the things I do to prepare the students in advance of going on the field trip is to bring them to a few lessons in class about just the kind of mindset one should have in order to have a really meaningful, successful Global Village experience. And so I take them on a little tour through understanding the Heifer Global Village. We watch several videos to inspire an appreciation for the kind of mindset one would want to have if they see someone lacking what they need. And so videos like this, where these individuals have very long spoons and they're trying to eat for themselves, but their spoons are so long they can't feed themselves. They start to fight. And then someone realizes, my spoon is long enough to feed you. And the other says, that's right, my spoon is long enough to feed you. And they realize that with a different perspective, everyone is fed, but it takes a lot of compassion and understanding and thinking outside our own personal needs. So this is a very impactful video. We have some reflection that we do. We talk about several mindsets of different people around the world. In this case, an individual in an African tribe has done something egregious, something wrong. And what this village does is they bring this person to the center of the village and they remind this person of their goodness and remind this person of everything that they love about them, rather than being super critical or belittling them for this mistake that they've made. They build them up. And so that's something we talk about. At the village, when we're stressed and our family group isn't listening and we want to just complain, instead, if we sort of take a deep breath and regroup and work together and communicate, then we'll be able to eat, hopefully. We talk about the importance of resilience, and I tell them that this tree that's strong enough to bend without breaking in the wind is our image when we need to be resilient. So things might come at us at the village that just make us want to break. The fire's not starting, I don't want to eat raw food, but we need to be resilient. Take a deep breath and work at it and not give up. Perseverance, which is one of our key core values. So we do talk about the buoyancy that's required in order to be resilient, the emotions that we feel, the kind of inner dialogue that we have when we're being resilient, how a balloon is pushed down in the water but it bounces back because it's tough and it's just gonna not let that balloon stay under the water, and that's how we have to be. I also talk to them about this principle of Ubuntu, and I read to them about this anthropologist who went to an African village, and he proposed to these children that there was a bowl of fruit in the tree line, and if whoever was first to get the bowl of fruit would get to eat it all. But what the anthropologist saw the children do was to grab hands, and they ran together to the bowl of fruit, and they shared the fruit. And when he asked them, why did you do this when one of you, the fastest one, could have had all of the fruit? The children said, because of the principle of Ubuntu. And the principle of Ubuntu is, how can one of us be happy if all the other ones are sad? And so we embrace this idea of Ubuntu. And we embrace it at the village, and we embrace it as we gain a wider, better global perspective. How can one of us be happy if others are sad? And so just that level of empathy. So sometimes in the village you'll hear kids shouting out, Ubuntu, as a reminder. And this is the image that inspired Ubuntu. So at the village we always put our feet together and we take an Ubuntu image as a way to just remind ourselves of that level of empathy that a human being should have in order to be a true help to individuals who are suffering. There's lots more that I could say, but I will leave it at that. We take quite a tour through places around the world prior to going to the Global Village. This is a wonderful website called The Places We Live that takes us on a 360 tour in different homes around the world while the people talk to us about what their life is like, living in slums, living in poverty. Again, just building awareness. We look at what people eat for breakfast around the world to compare that to what we eat. We look at lots of different elements just to begin this whole dialogue that continues in 6th grade about building that global perspective. So thank you so much for indulging me in this little presentation. We're very much looking forward to this field trip. I know it's going to be meaningful, and thank you for allowing your child to attend.